In this video, I'm going to show you how to make healthy, gluten-free, sugar-free chocolate chip cookies. And the best part is that they even taste good. These cookies are delicious, you guys. So come along with me in this quick video and we will throw together these chocolate chip cookies in no time. I'm Zanana Rose, and this is Natural Living with Zanana, where I share information, tips, and product reviews, and sometimes even recipes to help you live a more healthy, sustainable, natural, and non-toxic lifestyle. This is something that you guys have been asking me about. I've been baking with allulose. Allulose is a delicious calorie-free sweetener. It's actually a rare sugar that is found in kiwis, raisins, and figs. And the best part about it, it is low glycemic. Actually doesn't cause any spikes in your blood sugar. This recipe that I'm sharing with you actually does have carbs in it because I'm gonna go ahead and use a gluten-free flour, but you could substitute this out with a paleo flour and you could completely make this a keto and paleo friendly recipe. But with the gluten-free flour, for me and for my husband, it actually works for us and doesn't cause too much of a blood sugar spike because we are using the allulose, which is a low-carb sweetener that has no glycemic impact on your blood sugar. And guess what, you guys? It's tasty. It actually tastes like sugar. It's super good. Now, in this recipe, I'm also going to use Swerve, which is an erythritol-based sweetener. This is a brown Swerve, and it just gives these cookies a really rich and yummy flavor. So let's get right into it, you guys. I've got 2 bowls here. I have my smaller bowl, which I'm going to use to mix together the wet ingredients, and then I have my larger bowl for the dry ingredients. So we're going to start with 2.5 cups of the gluten-free flour here. Now, I use a gluten-free flour that I put together myself based on the Minimalist Baker gluten-free flour recipe. But if you don't want to do that, you can buy Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 baking flour. I like the Minimalist Baker flour a little bit better because she uses primarily brown rice, whereas the Bob's Red Mill is primarily white rice. I think the brown rice is a little bit healthier for us, so that's why I choose that instead, but this is a great substitute. And I will put a link down in the description to the webpage where you can make this gluten-free flour. Now, in this recipe, I add a little bit of sorghum flour, so just 1/2 cup of that to the recipe. And because I'm adding that, I also add a teaspoon of xanthan gum, and that just helps to make these cookies nice and chewy. And in addition, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. And that makes up our dry ingredients, so we are just going to blend those together here. And now we're going to set this aside for a moment, and we'll go ahead and mix together the wet ingredients in this bowl. And we'll start with 1 cup of melted butter here. And this is a pretty big recipe. It's going to make quite a bit of cookies. My husband loves a good chocolate chip cookie, so I make these for him. And he likes to have a lot of them. He keeps them in the refrigerator and he usually eats about 1 of them a day. And this recipe just helps him to stay on track and not buy cookies out in the world that are filled with more processed sugars and non-organic ingredients, non-pasture raised eggs. This recipe really helps us to stay healthy. Now, this is butter. Like I said before, if you wanted to make this vegan, you could certainly use coconut oil instead of the butter. Next, we're going to add the allulose sugar. So I've got 1 cup of allulose here that I'm going to add to my wet ingredients. And then next, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of the Swerve. And the Swerve is just like a packed brown sugar, so it does act like that in this recipe. And we're also going to add 2 tablespoons of milk and 1 tablespoon of vanilla. I'm just blending this together here. My husband loves a chewy cookie, so that's why I have been working on this recipe and have come up with the perfect recipe to make that good, healthy, chewy cookie. So now we're just going to whisk together these eggs a little bit, and then we'll add them in last. I like to add them in last because by that time we've added the other ingredients, the butter won't be warm anymore, and you don't have the risk of actually cooking your eggs when you add it to your wet ingredients. So we'll add the eggs in here. Now again, if you wanted to make this recipe vegan, you could go ahead and do a flax egg or a chia egg. There's lots of information on the internet about how to create the flax egg or the chia egg. I'm gonna switch to my whisk here, and I'm gonna whisk this together to make this a good consistency for our cookies. So look at how it's getting nice and thick and creamy, super creamy. It's buttery and sweet and delicious. And that's the great thing about the allulose, is that it has a really nice sweet flavor. It doesn't have any bitterness. No weird aftertaste. It really tastes just like sugar. So now we're ready to add this to our dry ingredients. I'm gonna just take my spatula and put all of the wet ingredients into the bowl here. Now my husband is a purist. He really likes a good chocolate chip cookie without oats. He does like a little bit of walnuts in it, so we will add that, but you don't have to. You can leave the nuts out if you would like to, or you can add a different type of nut as well. Okay, now we're gonna blend this with our dry ingredients. And if I didn't say already, you could use a paleo flour instead of your gluten-free flour, and you could make this a keto or paleo recipe. But I've gone ahead and used a gluten-free flour this time. It works very well, and we're just blending this up. Here's our dough in the end. And to this, I'm gonna go ahead and add the chocolate chips and the walnuts. Now I'm putting a whole bag of chocolate chips in here. You could use a little less if you would like. It just depends on how chocolatey you actually like your cookies. I use Lily's baking chips. These are a sugar-free baking chip. They're sweetened with stevia, and when you're using allulose or swerve, erythritol, any of the alternative sweeteners, these chocolate chips are fantastic. They are not organic, but at least they are non-GMO and fair trade. So lastly, we're gonna go ahead and put it in the refrigerator for 15 to 30 minutes. That helps the dough to actually firm up a little bit more. It makes it easier to put it onto the cookie sheet. I do line my cookie sheet with parchment paper, and then we'll scoop the cookies onto the parchment paper and we'll bake it for 10 to 12 minutes. Now you want to take your cookies out before they are fully formed, and that helps to make a super chewy, yummy chocolate chip cookie. So be sure not to overbake these guys. They can just be barely set in the middle, even just a little bit loose, and they will still come out perfectly. Okay, so there we go. We're gonna put these in the fridge and then we'll go ahead and bake them, and I'll be back with the finished cookie. So you might have noticed that I am in a new kitchen, guys. I actually moved last week, and so here we are. We're living in Camas, Washington now for a little bit. This is a transitional house, a transitional kitchen, but we will be here for a little while. So hang out with me in my new kitchen, guys. And if you're enjoying this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, hit the little like button, subscribe to my channel if this is the type of information that you like, and hit the little bell so that you get notified of every single episode. All right, so we've had our cookie dough in the refrigerator. It's nice and firm, makes it a lot easier to drop it onto the pan. So let's go ahead and scoop some cookies onto the parchment lined cookie sheet. Now we'll place them a little bit apart, but we want to fill up this tray so I don't put them too far apart so that we can squeeze it in. This is a large baking tray, so it fits quite a few cookies. So I squeeze them in pretty tight for the baking. And then I will place them in the oven and bake them for a short time. We'll check them while they're in there so that you can see just how long to bake them in order to keep them nice and chewy and ooey and gooey. The perfect chocolate chip cookie. Now, the last thing I'm gonna do before I put these into the oven is I have this Jacobsen Salt Company vanilla bean sea salt. So I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle a little bit of this on the cookies just to give it a little fun extra sea salt chocolate chip cookies. So if you don't have this around, you certainly don't have to do this, but I just had it in the cupboard and thought it would be a fun addition to these cookies. So I'm just sprinkling a little bit onto each cookie and we'll put them into the oven next. So let's check our cookies. Remember, we don't want them to be overdone. So we'll have to take a look here and let's check these cookies. They are soft still, not too soft. I think they're just right. They're also a little bit browned, which is perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these out. We'll let them cool for about 10 minutes or so and they should be set. So before we taste these cookies, if you've been enjoying this video, make sure to give it a like, give it a little thumbs up, and subscribe if this is the type of information that you like on YouTube. Hit the little bell so that you get notified of every single episode. And now let's give these cookies a try, guys. Look at this, they're beautiful. I think they came out perfectly. So let's open it up and see what it looks like. It's a nice chewy cookie here. I'm gonna give it a taste, guys. Let's see what we think. Soft and delicious. I ended up letting it cook for about 13 or 14 minutes and it came out perfectly. So good, you guys. Healthy, gluten-free chocolate chip cookies that can be easily converted to paleo cookies with a little paleo flour and vegan with coconut oil and a flax egg or a chia egg. These are so good, you guys, made with Allulose and Swerve, and Lily's chocolate chips made with stevia, so no sugar at all. I can't wait till you make these for yourself and taste them. Let us know down in the comment section how they come out, and I will look forward to seeing you in the very next video. Take care, friends. I wish you the very best of health.